In today's video, I want to share a story from one of you that honestly makes my blood boil. You've probably heard about the famous rice diet from Dr. Kempner. Some say it's a miracle, others aren't so sure. And of course, there's always that question about activated charcoal. How much do you really need to avoid dialysis? But what I'm about to tell you goes far beyond that. But it's really Will's story, and it's one that every kidney patient needs to hear. Now, for those who are new here, I'm a doctor of natural medicine, and this channel is all about giving you real answers. I'll be doing more Q&A videos soon, because your questions are always incredible. So, if you have something that could help others, drop it in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there. Alright, let's get into it. The first comment today, it's going to break your heart. It's a powerful reminder of both hope and heartbreak. Will wrote, "Thanks, Dr. for your help over the past 5 years. You helped me stay off dialysis for about 5 years. My GFR was 17, and using your methods, it went up to 28. Let that sink in for a second. His GFR was 17. That's end-stage kidney disease. That's the point where most people are told, it's time to start dialysis. But Will didn't give up. He turned it around. He brought it up to 28 and then kept it there. Not for a few months, but for 5 years. 5 years, guys. 5 years of fighting, of discipline, of refusing to give in to what doctors said was inevitable. He did it with no medical support, no fancy equipment, just heart, faith, and the knowledge he picked up right here on this channel. And that's what makes what happened next so devastating. Because after all that effort, one single event changed everything. Here's how he finished his comment: "You helped me stay off dialysis for about 5 years until I got the contrast, which devastated my kidneys." I can't tell you how much that hurts to read. Will, I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve that. None of you do. Guys, please understand what this means. Will fought like a warrior. He did everything right. And then, one preventable medical mistake, one unnecessary use of contrast dye erased years of progress in a single afternoon. This is why I'm angry. This is why I keep making these videos. Because stories like Will's shouldn't keep happening. Now, I know what you're probably wondering. Does this mean imaging tests are the end of the road for people with kidney disease? Is there really no way to prevent those contrast dyes from destroying your kidneys? And for anyone listening who might not know what I'm talking about, or maybe, if you happen to be Will Lancio's doctor watching this video right now, wondering how your patient went from being stable for 5 whole years to suddenly needing dialysis, let me explain something to you. We've known for decades that contrast agents can wreck kidney function. There's even a name for it: contrast-induced nephropathy. For anyone with CKD, it's like pouring gasoline on a fire. But here's what should truly make you angry: it's 2025. We know better now. Medicine has evolved. Science has advanced. There are proven, safe ways to give imaging tests to kidney patients without destroying their kidneys. It's not rocket science, it's simply following the right steps. Using the correct type and dose of contrast. Giving proper hydration with bicarbonate before and after the scan. There are established, well-documented protocols that protect the kidneys. This isn't experimental. It's not controversial. It's standard care. Every responsible doctor should know it. So, why didn't this happen for Will? Why did a man who fought tooth and nail for 5 years, who stabilized his kidneys against all odds, lose everything because someone didn't bother to follow basic safety steps? There's no excuse for that. None. And I know this part hurts to hear, but the truth is, you can't always count on the system to protect you. You can't assume your doctors will always do what's safest. Too often, they don't. And one small oversight, one careless decision is all it takes to turn a success story into a tragedy. That's why I do what I do. That's why I offer one-on-one consultations to make sure you never end up in that same situation. My goal is to protect you before something like this happens. To help you know exactly what questions to ask, what tests are safe, and what protocols your doctors must follow to keep your kidneys safe. Because no one who fights as hard as Will did should ever lose everything because of someone else's negligence. And as long as I'm here, I'll do everything I can to make sure you don't become the next Will Lancio. Alright, let's move on to the next question, and this one's from Angela Shama. She asks, what's a safe amount of activated charcoal to take daily that won't eliminate iron? And when's the best time to take it? That's a great question, Angela, thank you for asking. Now, activated charcoal is one of those fascinating natural substances that's been around forever. It's famous for its ability to detoxify. People use it for bloating, gas, even food poisoning. In hospitals, doctors use it for overdoses because it's incredibly good at binding the toxins and pulling them out of the body. Here's the amazing part, activated charcoal can also bind to uremic toxins, those harmful waste products that build up in the blood when your kidneys aren't working well. In fact, years ago, it was even tested as a dialysis alternative. And believe it or not, it worked. Some people were able to avoid dialysis for years using nothing but activated charcoal. But, and this is important to get that kind of result, they had to take huge amounts of it every single day. That's not something most of us could or should do. So, what about people in stage 3 or stage 4 CKD? Can a smaller, safer dose help protect your kidneys? Well, studies have looked at that, and the results are promising. Activated charcoal can slow down disease progression in some cases. But here's the catch, activated charcoal doesn't just bind toxins. It binds everything. Iron, vitamins, minerals, medications. It doesn't discriminate. It's powerful, but it's not smart. That's why it's fallen out of favor for most CKD patients today. And this part is really important if you're on blood pressure medication or immunosuppressants. Charcoal can actually block them from being absorbed properly. That's dangerous. There are, however, newer and smarter alternatives. For example, in Japan and the Philippines, doctors often prescribe something called cremazine, also known as AST-120. It's like the upgraded version of activated charcoal designed in the lab to bind only to uremic toxins, not the good stuff your body needs. If you live in a country where it's available and your doctor prescribes it, that's fantastic news. But if you're in the US, I honestly wouldn't recommend taking regular activated charcoal on your own even if it works. There are safer, more kidney-friendly options, like Renifiber, which is basically pure acacia fiber. Here's why I like it, Renifiber can be taken even on an empty stomach. That means it's not going to grab onto your medications or nutrients like charcoal would. It still helps clear toxins, but in a much gentler, safer way. So to sum it up, activated charcoal does work, but it works too well. If you want to protect your kidneys safely, Renifiber or other acacia fiber products are a much better choice. Alright, next question, and this one's from Zyberter. Let's see what you wrote. Doctor, what's your opinion on the rice diet developed by Dr. Kempner in the 1930s? He cured many patients with severe hypertension, CKD, and type 2 diabetes using a rice and fruit diet, 90% carbs, 5% protein, and 5% fat. First of all, thank you, Burger, that's a fantastic question. And I have to say, the irony of Burger asking about a rice diet. Beautiful. Chef's kiss. Now, before I share my thoughts, let's set the record straight. The rice diet was created in the 1930s, long before we had medications for high blood pressure or diabetes. Back then, doctors were desperate and this diet was their nuclear option, extremely low sodium, low protein, and ultra-restrictive. And yes, it did work. But let's be real, when 90% of your calories come from rice and the other 10% from pure determination, you're going to lose weight. Fast. And that alone will improve blood pressure, kidney function, and blood sugar along with, well, your will to live. So, did it work? Technically, yes. But remember, it was the Great Depression. People didn't have access to what we do now. There was no lisinopril, no losartan, no modern understanding of micronutrients or gut health. What makes me smile, and sometimes sigh, is that lately, the rice diet has been making a little comeback. At first, I thought, how sweet people are getting curious about the history of kidney treatment. I was this close to turning my weekends into full-on lectures about sodium restriction and GFR improvement. Living the dream, right? But then, the questions kept rolling in. And it started to sound less like curiosity and more like, hey, can we bring back that 1930s rice miracle diet? Guys, that's like going to your dentist for Invisalign and asking if they still offer rusty metal implants from the 1800s. So here's my honest opinion, the rice diet is fascinating as history. But in 2025? It has about as much place in kidney treatment as bloodletting does in brain surgery. Your body needs fiber, vitamins, minerals, real nutrition. White rice gives you none of that. And anyone promoting it today as a miracle cure is either misinformed or selling nostalgia in a bag. So please, don't starve yourself on 90% rice and 10% regret. Trust me, self-inflicted anemia is not the wellness trend we're going for. Alright, guys, the next question comes from Basil Jaff. He asks, what's the safest blood pressure medication for the kidneys? Oh, easy, it's the rice diet. Laughs okay, I'm kidding. But seriously, Basil, this is a really good question and not an easy one. Because, let's be honest, most blood pressure medications come with their own little menu of side effects. Choosing the right one sometimes feels like picking your meal at a hospital cafeteria. Nothing looks amazing, but you're just hoping to find something that won't make things worse. So, the real question isn't which blood pressure med is perfect. It's which one will help you the most while disappointing you the least. If we had to name a winner, it's usually the ACE inhibitors, things like lisinopril or enalapril. Why? Because they don't just lower blood pressure. They also help protect your kidneys by reducing proteinuria, that's when protein leaks into your urine. So they're kind of doing double duty, like the one employee who actually shows up on time and gets the job done. Now, not everyone can tolerate ACE inhibitors. Some people get that annoying dry cough, the infamous ACE cough. If that happens, your next best option is an ARB, like losartan or valsartan. These usually give you the same kidney protection, just without the cough. But here's the thing, and this part's important, it's not one size fits all. Some people need a mix of medications, maybe a diuretic, maybe a calcium channel blocker, or sometimes even a little cocktail of all three. And in advanced CKD, ACE inhibitors can become tricky, they might not work as well, and the side effects can get stronger. So when people ask, what's the safest one, my honest answer is, the one that's safest for you. The one your doctor chooses after looking at your lab results, your potassium levels, your kidney function, your blood pressure readings, and then balancing all of that carefully. Please don't try to play pharmacist with YouTube or Google. Your doctor spent 15 years studying how to choose between lisinopril and losartan. The YouTube algorithm spent about 15 seconds deciding which one to scare you about today. Next question, and this one's a big one. If blood pressure medications are bad for CKD patients, then what should we do for high blood pressure? Ah, yes. I hear this one all the time. First, let's clear something up right away. Blood pressure medications are not bad for kidney patients. In fact, for most people, they're absolutely essential. What people are usually worried about are the side effects. And yes, those are real. Here's the truth: the higher your dose, or the more medications you need, the greater your chances of running into side effects. That's just how it works. But please, and I can't stress this enough, that doesn't mean your prescriptions are optional. The side effects of blood pressure meds might not be pleasant, but the side effects of skipping them? Those can be deadly. Stroke, heart attack, kidney failure, that's not an exaggeration. Now that we've made that crystal clear, let's talk about something your doctor might not emphasize enough. Your goal should always be to control your blood pressure with as little medication as possible. Because here's the thing, taking a small dose of lisinopril can protect your kidneys beautifully. But if you're on 5 full-dose blood pressure meds just to keep things stable, your kidneys end up feeling like a pharmaceutical punching bag. So how do we fix that? How do we make the meds work less while keeping your blood pressure in check? Let's start with something simple and actually kind of amazing. Garlic. Yes, garlic. In one large meta-analysis involving over 550 patients, researchers found that garlic supplements lowered blood pressure by about 8.3 over 5.5 millimeters of mercury on average. That's huge. Imagine being able to take a little less medication just by adding garlic the right way. And that's exactly what I teach in the video under this comment, my special recipe for turning garlic into a natural support for your blood pressure. It works, and it's safe. But garlic isn't the only tool you have. One of the most powerful ways to lower blood pressure naturally is by keeping your body weight under control. Remember the rice diet we talked about earlier? It wasn't the rice doing the healing, it was the calorie restriction, the weight loss, and the low sodium intake. Which brings me to something absolutely crucial: salt. Please, no matter what you see online, do not fall for the myth that natural salts, Himalayan, Celtic, sea salt, or whatever fancy label they give it, are somehow good for you. Your kidneys don't care where the salt came from. Sodium is sodium. No amount of blood pressure medication can save your kidneys if you're slowly damaging them with healthy salt. I just met another new patient who ended up in end-stage kidney failure because an influencer convinced them Celtic salt was good for detox. It breaks my heart every time. So please, learn from that. Don't let a marketing myth undo all your hard work. Protect your kidneys, and remember, it's not about avoiding medication. It's about using it wisely, and supporting your body so you need less of it over time. Alright, let's move on to a really interesting question from the Truth Slang Anger. They asked, is it alright to take L-glutamine if you have CKD? I wanted to repair my gut and stomach lining. I have to say, I love when people ask before trying a supplement. It shows you're thinking ahead and being careful, which is exactly what someone with kidney issues should be doing. So, let's talk about glutamine. There's some fascinating research on it. In one study, adults with irritable bowel syndrome were given 15 grams of glutamine a day, and the results were impressive. Almost 80% of them saw their symptoms ease up. Less bloating, less pain, better bowel movements, and overall, a better quality of life. And honestly, that makes sense. When your gut feels better, your whole body feels better, including your kidneys. But, here's where I want you to pause for a second before running to buy a tub of glutamine. That study was small, and more importantly, glutamine can actually be risky if you have kidney disease, especially when diabetes is also part of the picture. There are large reviews showing that supplementing with this amino acid might stress or even damage your kidneys. So my honest advice? Don't take it. If you have CKD, it's best to avoid supplementing with non-essential amino acids altogether. You already get plenty of glutamine naturally through foods like rice, oats, and other grains, enough for your body's needs. And unless you have the exact type of IBS that was treated in that study, chances are you won't get the same results anyway. If your goal is to heal your gut and you also have CKD, there are safer, more effective paths to take. A low-protein, plant-based diet can work wonders, and a low FODMAP approach may also help, especially in the beginning when your gut is sensitive. And please don't overlook fiber. It's one of the most powerful tools you have. Fiber supports both your kidneys and your gut. That's exactly why I created Rena Fiber. It's low FODMAP, so it helps without making IBS symptoms worse. You can also pair it with Renobiotic, my probiotic blend formulated specifically for people with CKD and IBS. Together, they can make a real difference in your digestion and overall kidney support without the risks that come with amino acid supplements like glutamine. Alright, up next is a question from Ernest Calazero. He asks, what's the best way to get relief from kidney pain? That's a great question, Ernest, and honestly, a tough one too. Because kidney pain can be tricky. In fact, in most cases, what people think is kidney pain isn't actually coming from the kidneys at all. So here's the good news: if you're feeling some discomfort in your lower back and you're worried it's your kidneys, it probably isn't. Now, let's talk about what could be going on. Sure, kidney infections can cause pain. But usually, before you ever feel pain in that area, you'd already notice other symptoms, like burning when you pee, fever, or chills. So if you don't have those, it's probably not an infection. Kidney stones? That's another possible cause, but trust me, that kind of pain is so sharp and intense that most people end up in the ER long before they have time to search for answers online. So, here's the truth: in most cases, what people call kidney pain turns out to be back pain, usually from tight or strained muscles around the spine or lower back. Here's something simple you can try right now to test that. Move around a little. Gently stretch or lie flat on your back. If the pain changes, if it shifts, gets better, or worse when you move, then that's a big clue it's not your kidneys at all. Real kidney pain doesn't usually move when you do. Of course, that doesn't mean you should ignore it. Back pain can still be serious, and it's always best to check with your doctor, especially if the pain is strong or persistent. Let them help you figure out exactly what's going on. So, to sum up, most of the time, that dull ache you're feeling probably isn't your kidneys, but it's always worth getting checked out just to be safe. Thank you so much for sending in that question, Ernest. And for everyone watching, take care of yourselves, listen to your body, and don't ignore your pain. That's all for today's Q&A. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next one.